to another episode of The Lofty Lender. This week I've got another very special guest, Curvin Larson. He's an insurance agent with Comparian Insurance Agency in Waukee, Iowa. Curvin has a background in mortgage lending and banking. As a transplant to the state of Iowa, Curvin has established his roots in the Des Moines metro and has been active in local area chambers with an emphasis on young professional initiatives in the Des Moines metro. Welcome to the show, Curvin.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Good, man. Great to see you. It's been a hot minute since you worked here in the office, so it's nice to see you, even though you're on the other side of the computer now.
Yeah, in the well, I guess not quite the other side of the metro, but far enough, right?
So tell us, you were, as I mentioned, you used to work with us, and you were part of Midwest Family Lending. You were part of Team Chedester. You and I worked together closely for a while, and you made the jump over to insurance. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and especially because I think Midwest is a great place to work with great people. So, for me, where you work is oftentimes you enjoy it a little bit more or less based on who you're surrounded with, and your building has great people in it. So I still like to stop in and say hi, but. Yeah, I made the switch because for me, I know a lot of people in the real estate world. It's an interesting, intriguing world, but for me, I wasn't in love with it after doing 6-7 years, and I said, well, I built this base of skills up over this last decade in this area. I built networks and things like that. What are the things I love about lending? What are the things that I'm not crazy about? And where can I translate or where can I transfer those skills? The sales cycle is a little bit quicker than it is in the mortgage world, so it's a little bit easier to absorb some of the losses, I guess. Actually, more so than some of the wins. It's always fun to win, and to have moments of success. But yeah, insurance was a really good landing spot for me. I was able to kind of utilize the expertise I gained from the mortgage world and apply it to this one. So it's been really good spot for me over these last few years.
How did you come across Comparian? They're fairly new to the area, especially when you first joined in with them. So how did you find these guys?
Yeah, so Comparian's kind of interesting. It's a Liberty Mutual company, but we're really completely separate from Liberty Mutual at this point. So I found Comparian through my network and going out in the community, networking with people. My current boss now, Jake, is who I met at some events, and he said he was growing this office, and in the mortgage world, Kyle, I'm sure you get a lot of recruiters that contact you constantly saying, "Hey, we want to open up this, we want to do that," and that's how it kind of felt initially. And so I was very wary of it. I had 3 meetings with him before I really said, "Okay, I think this might be a good fit." So he always jokes that I had 3 interviews. I had 3 job interviews for him. But when new companies come into town, they promise the world. And I've seen it so many times in the mortgage world where people leave good jobs and good offices to go try and start something new and something exciting. And, it turns out the company didn't really understand the market, didn't really understand the area. And 6 to 12 months later, they're gone, and they've left all these, 3, 4, 5 mortgage lenders that have networks and communities. They don't look, I wouldn't say they don't look good, but it can be some reputational harm for, it looks bad on you sometimes. And I wanted to avoid that. I didn't want to be picking up the pieces again after I uprooted my life and my career. I didn't want to be picking up the pieces after 12 months. So I felt really good about Comparian. The amount of energy and effort they put into prospecting this area and understanding what the market is and how we're going to grow in it. And so far, despite it being a hard market in insurance, they've backed every word.
Well, and speaking of longevity, being with the company, you've already been there a year, right?
I've been here for about 18 months now. I'll hit 2 years here in August.
Wow, man, it doesn't seem like you've been gone that long, but I guess since you've been gone,
It was quick.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah, it's actually, and now that I'm starting to get through these the first renewal cycles, it's realizing that I actually get to have more conversations than I did in the mortgage world. I didn't expect that in this world. I get to have more touch points with the customer. I get to, connect with them again a year later, maybe 6 months later, depending on the situation. And I think that's only going to continue to grow, where all of a sudden I start realizing like, oh, you know what, I've had customers in my book for 5, 6, 7 years, and you're seeing kids grow up, you're seeing kids get added to different policies, and understanding where people are in the hill of life. That's the part that I didn't think I'd have as close of relationships with the customers as I did in the mortgage process, but I'm finding it just takes a little bit more time, but they grow for a longer amount of time sometimes.
So how do you get that credibility and trust then, especially when they give you a call? You get, everybody always says you got to call 3 insurance agents, right, in order to get a quote from all 3 of them. And so how do you gain that trust and credibility on a quick 2, 3, 4 minute call with somebody who you've never met?
Well, I wish I could do the call in 2, 3, or 4 minutes. I think that's part of it. Depending on my process, I have a couple different ways to kind of expedite it. But with every customer, I'm still spending a decent amount of time on the phone with them. It's not hours, but that initial intake call might be 15 to 20 minutes. And then kind of with the amount of carriers that we have and are available for us, we shop, especially in this market, we're shopping 7, 8, 9 carriers if they're available. So we're doing a lot of dual work over and over and repeat processes as we log into different carriers. But really, to answer that question, it's just making sure they realize that my goal is to try and help them achieve what their goal might be. It might be saving money, it might be increasing coverages, but I'm not worried about closing the sale. I'm worried about protecting their households and providing advice. And so that's kind of how I think I've gained legitimacy in a pretty short period of time with my customers and my clientele. Is if I make the sale great, I'm not going to bat 100. I wish I was, but just the old baseball joke, right? Like 30% is Hall of Fame level. So you're not going to get everybody, but my goal is to always win the customer, not necessarily the sale. Because in this world, 6 months, 12 months comes up pretty quick. And if you've won the customer, you get to call them back. And if they want to work with you, it's all the easier.
Well, so getting granular on that then, not necessarily giving us your customer's name or of any sort, but are there any stories that come to mind that were maybe a horror story that they had, Geico insurance and they came over and they were successful over here with you, or, maybe somebody else in town just made a mistake and you got it and you were able to help them out? Anything come to mind when I talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few little small stories, and really, they're actually rather common on a large level, which is seeing the amount of people who are underprotected and just don't know it, or they don't have coverage they think they have, especially with auto limits. State minimums just isn't enough nowadays, and we see how much car repairs are for people. I see a lot of people that only have like 25,000 property damage on their cars, and it's like, I mean, that's sometimes a fender bender depending on what vehicle you hit. So making sure people realize that they're liable for those costs over what the insurance is going to cover, and explaining that to them, and really just going through the full policy with them, whether it's a home policy, a life policy, an auto policy. It's surprising how many people just don't understand their insurance, and I don't blame them, because it isn't easy, and you review it maybe once every 2-3 years with somebody, and then it kind of goes in one year and goes out the other. But the whole goal of that consultation call that we have with that customer is that they don't have to know exactly what their coverages are, but they know they're covered well, or they know there's some gaps somewhere. That's the goal for me.
Awesome. Well, I want to take a step back away from your career a little bit and talk about how you got here. And by here, I mean Iowa. You mentioned in your bio that you are a transplant to Iowa. So talk to us a little bit about how you got to Iowa, knowing that you came from Illinois to start.
Oh yeah. I came out to Iowa, at 18 for school. Went to Iowa State and was there for 4.5 years. I had a super senior semester. But I enjoyed Iowa itself. I found that I was coming out of school right in the middle of the Great Recession. We're still coming out of that. And I wouldn't say right in the middle of it, but we were coming out of that still. So opportunities were still a little bit few and far back home. And this was a really strong regional economy here in central Iowa. And so this was a great pocket to be in. And I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do next, but I got out of school, which I know that's the whole point of going to school, but I was going to do grad school, and I said, I don't think I want to keep going to school. I want to take a year off or two, and I can always go back. But that left me kind of trying to figure out what to do. Des Moines was an awesome place. I got a job in the metro, and that really exposed me to being in Des Moines a little bit more. Quickly kind of moved down here and moved around in that initial company that I worked for. I worked for a bank at that time. Worked at 3 or 4 different locations through some different promotions, and then that led me into the world of mortgage lending. So yeah, I mean, it was the Des Moines farmers markets. It was seeing the social capital we had here. It was seeing the amount of successful people that come out of this area with big time successes, and you're meeting those people in chamber meetings and stuff, and at dinners, and it was just a place that I realized I could build a really good life here.
Well, and Curvin, you're kind of like an onion. I feel like there's a lot of layers to you. You just went through that entire story and didn't once mention hockey, right? So talk to us a little bit about how hockey influenced all of that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, hockey ruled my life for 18 years. So hockey's my first love, and so I know in this area it's not as big of a sport or a following. But when I was 8 years old, I pretty much fell in love with the sport. Started playing. Well, actually, I was probably 5 or 6, and then started playing at 8, and that kind of became church for our family, to be honest, because you're playing games on Saturday and Sunday, and it's a whole family sport. And so I was going to look at playing juniors. I transferred high schools to play hockey. So I went across state lines from Illinois to Wisconsin to play in some more competitive programs, and even looked at doing like a prep school. So my parents were willing to send me away if I wanted to, but I did want to stay close to home. And when I got through high school, I didn't want to go out and play juniors, because in hockey you got to go play juniors a couple of years typically. You don't go right from high school to college. Some do, but it's a little bit more rare. And I didn't want to be a 21-year-old freshman, so I went right to school. I ended up having a connection there. That's a longer story, but to kind of shorten it, I ended up getting suckered into coaching high school hockey, and I did that for 7 years in Ames. So even after college, I got through college, and even when I was living in Des Moines, I was driving up there a couple of years, and I finally stepped away from that. Said, hey, you know what? I need to grow in other areas of my life, and I just started itching or scratching that itch again this year. I got involved with youth hockey again with coaching. So yeah, I'm a goalie specialist is what I do. So it's really easy for me to jump on the ice, and I'm in high demand amongst typical coaches. So it's kind of nice.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I'm glad you're back into hockey, because I know that definitely perks you up.
Yeah.
What other hobbies help you get away from the insurance world?
All right, so obviously, because I do love hockey, actually I skate a lot, which is rollerblading. So I skate around Grays Lake quite a bit. It's a perfect 2-mile lap. Great spot to skate, not too far from my house. So that's how I keep my legs under me, how I keep staying young and fit, I guess. But other than that, I'm a gardener, and I think you know this. Love gardening. We've got, my front yard is all perennial garden, hillside. It is a lot of work, but that's been the biggest challenge as a homeowner for me, is the amount of garden space we have, and we've added to it. So yeah, we've got gardening all year, got chickens in the backyard, so we get fresh eggs. So anyone that needs eggs, you can hit us up. So kind of living a little farm life in the city.
That's awesome. So if money was no option and business would continue to go on its own and you'd make the money that you needed, what would you do with your time?
That's a great question. Well, first off, I think I realized as an adult now, it took a little while, but I realized I'll probably never be asking what I want to be when I grow up, right? I love what I do. It's been an awesome fit. I plan to do this for many years. I plan to build a career out of it. It's not just a job. But I didn't grow up with some sort of deep passion for insurance, right? And I don't think most people don't grow up thinking. You're probably the
same way with mortgage.
Did you grow up thinking you're gonna be a mortgage lender?
Oh, you know it. Yeah. I actually went to school for mortgages. No, says no one ever.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, if I could do just anything, I think it'd probably be starting some side hustles. But I have this, I have somewhat of a desire to work with my hands with stuff. And so if I could do anything, it might just be with gardening and landscaping. That would be maybe one of them. The other would be carpentry work. I have no experience in carpentry work, by the way. The gardening thing kind of makes sense for me, but I would have to build up a lot of skills. But I would probably take a year or two to do something like that, and then just be able to be a little bit more of a creative.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally would agree. I'm definitely not a gardener whatsoever. Being 6'10", it's a lot of work to bend over and pull out the weeds and whatnot, but I do love the woodworking. I can be right there with you. All right, so you talked a little bit about your love for your passion for your insurance. Really, it's more your passion for people, right? Your connection with those people. I know I just had a customer the other day called you up, and she said that guy, whatever his name is, can't ever remember Curvin because Curvin is a different name than everybody else has, and that's why it's awesome. But she goes, he was just amazing. Talking to Curvin on the phone, he just understood me. I felt like we were on the same wavelength. He knew what was going on, and I didn't have to feel like I had to explain myself. He just understood me and cared about me. So, where do you take the business from here? Are you guys planning to grow Comparion? Are you focusing more on just your personal book? What's the plan?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, for me, first and foremost is growing my personal book. Comparion, I was maybe the third or fourth agent in this office, and we are at 14 or 15 now. So we've had some really great growth, and not everybody's been able to stay on the wagon this whole time. We've had some people on and off, and that's to be expected when you're in a new territory and you're growing. But we've got an awesome team, and so I think that's where we're at right now from a team standpoint is the personality fits, and it's such a great diverse group, and everybody has different strengths that we're starting to learn from. Being in the office, we didn't have an office for the first year that we were in town, so having an office where people are actually together and you're hearing how people communicate on the phone to their customers or different techniques is huge. But for me, going back to just my personal goals, yeah, it is. It's growing my book right now, and it's perfecting my craft and understanding where my strengths are and what communities I can serve best and what demographics from the standpoint of where are those sources of business. So for me, what I mean by that is some agents have done really well in our office with places like car dealerships and helping customers get cars off lots. You can build great relationships from there. It's a little bit more transactional. If you're working in the real estate world, that's another popular area. You're talking about a little bit stronger relationships, a little bit fuller households, a little bit more greater needs overall. So for me, I want to grow in that area, and that's what I put a lot of my focus into, even though from an insurance standpoint right now, the market isn't really there for home coverage. It's a really challenging market to place people in. So we need more. I need more at bats to get the amount of hits. But overall, it's where I'm directing my focus because I know that market really well, and it's where I can benefit and add the most value to both customers and referral sources.
How do you think AI is going to enhance your business going forward?
Curious to see. For us, I think AI is going to certainly help in a lot of industries in places like marketing and being able to put together marketing materials and outreach. Being able to, and you already see this with different CRMs or with different programs to help you with your social media. But I'm also just curious to see where AI helps us in our industry on a very macro level with underwriting, with risk assessment. There's just the amount of data points we have, and it's fun to kind of get to the amount of carriers we have, and when they come in to present each as their own specifics, there's a really large range between what data points each carrier has available and who's kind of leading in that area is exciting to watch because they're doing things and they're kind of trying to predict the market a little bit better, and that's reflecting in rates and in product selection. So I think for us, it's going to be really kind of behind the scenes that you see AI, and it won't really be recognized as AI initially. I think it will be just kind of business as usual from an insurance standpoint.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I want to get into the next segment here, quick picks. It's my new title here, going with instead of this or that, we're going quick picks.
Quick.
We got A or B, right? You can tell me you like it or you excuse me. You want one or you want the other. We can spend as much time on these or as little time. You can just pick them right through. So classic art or modern art?
Ooh, I'm going to take modern art.
Ice cream or yogurt?
Oh, it's definitely ice cream. I'm like a daily ice cream intake right here.
Couldn't tell it by you being so dang skinny.
Does that skate?
Concert or Broadway show?
Concert.
Dave Matthews?
Dave Matthews or Beyonce. I mean, I know that's a weird range, but, sign me up. I'm there.
Board games or video games?
I actually really like board games. My husband has a bunch of pictures of me reading all the instructions for every board game we play. I always read through the instructions. I don't know if that means I'm like a rule follower or what. Every single board game we pick up, I have to read through the instructions. So I didn't realize this till I don't know, 3 years into our relationship. He shows me like 10 pictures of me reading instructions on board games. So we do enjoy the board game.
I take pictures of my wife sleeping with her obnoxious faces that she makes, and your husband's taking pictures of you reading instructions. I'm sure that's more flattering than her sleeping.
Yeah,
She hated that collage.
I don't know if I would be too happy if I had a bunch of pictures of me while I'm sleeping. So
Pasta or pizza?
can't go wrong there, right? I'd say I think pasta. You can do more with it, and I like to cook, so I'll take pasta.
All the money you want or all the time you have available?
Oh, I think I'm gonna take the time. Money can't buy you time. So, in fact, if I could have a superpower, being able to just like hit pause and stop time and catch up on my work, and then, sweet, I still got 4 more hours in the day. I would love to be able to do that. So I'll take the time.
Love it. Books or movies?
I wish I could say books. The audiobook has, I think, changed for a lot of people how much they read.
It counts.
Yeah, I'm going to take a movie. I want to sit down and relax when I can.
Early bird or night owl?
I'm naturally a night owl, and I hate it. This is actually one of my goals for this year. Everybody has like their New Year's resolutions, but mine's elite habits, and it's a great establishing nighttime and morning routines. I've always kind of had some, obviously, but we can always improve those. So I'm becoming more and more of an early bird. I feel way better when I get up early, get some stuff done.
That's really the best time to garden in the summer in Iowa, right? Like before that heat comes in, you can go out there, you can get some gardening in before you even go into work.
Oh yeah, I love waking up on a Saturday, getting out in the yard at 8:30 and working through noon, and then being able to finish up for the day and get your rest of your weekend stuff done.
I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask anyways. Favorite TV show?
I mean, all time, you know this one. It's The Office. It's like my generation's Seinfeld, right? And it's the one show I can not get sick of watching.
That makes one of us in this room. Sweet or savory?
What'd you say?
Sweet or savory?
Ooh, I've got a sweet tooth, but you're asking me like picking between two children here. That's tough. But I'll take sweet, I guess.
Trains or planes?
Kind of scared of both. Is that weird?
You're scared of both?
I mean, I'll go on both, right? But I think probably plane, just because we don't have great, trains in the U.S. They're all rickety and loud for the most part. So a plane, I can't watch that show, Air Disasters. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, well, once you realize that there's as many seasons, as many episodes as they have, it's terrifying. So I refuse to watch it because I know whenever I'm on a plane, all of those will be running through my head, these disaster scenarios. So, yeah, get me on and off those is what I'm trying to do.
There's millions of planes that fly every hour. Like, come on, man, you'll be fine.
I know,
You're just looking at the ones.
And that's why I will get on a plane and be like, all right, I'm fine. But, you still have it in the back of your head. I know I'm not alone in that.
Phone calls or text messages?
I actually, especially in this line of work, it's phone calls. It's talking to people and really showing that you're a person on the other end. You're not a robot. You're not just, you've got challenges, and you've got challenges within your workspace and within your home. You're just like everybody else. And so I want to talk to people. I want to hear them and understand them. You can't replace a good conversation.
Comedy or drama?
I don't want the drama.
Burgers or tacos?
Tacos. Burgers are great too, but you definitely got to go with the taco, right? It's good. It's
Absolutely.
There's Taco Tuesdays every night.
Amen. New clothes or new phone?
I'll take a new phone. Well, right now, no, I'll go new clothes usually. All right, a phone will last you quite a while, right? You always need some new clothes.
You've been giving us a lot of baseball analogies, so I'm going to say baseball or football?
Football. Baseball's a great analogy system, but football's definitely what I'm watching.
Well, and we're going to get you on the other show, my fantasy college football show here in soon. So yeah, we get to talk all about college fantasy football.
That's a good plug. I'll have to do that first year doing that last year. So I'll have to do a little off-season research. I really just kind of winged it last year. Didn't do too bad, but
yeah.
I didn't win any money either. So
I know the answer to this next question, but I'm asking it for the viewers and the listeners out there. Are you a tried and true Hawkeye fan or one of those Cyclone fans up north?
No, I'm a Cyclone. You know this, and I am comfortable now with saying that I appreciate the rivalry, and I will not root for Iowa. I tried to be a good Iowan. I did. I tried to do this when I really felt, post college that I was like, all right, I'm digging my roots here. I'm gonna try and root for both teams. And by 10 minutes in, I would realize I was rooting for their team to get a first down against Iowa, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I just embrace this? And so I think we're both on like the opposite sides of a coin. So I understand you, where you don't really care for Iowa State at all, and I'm like, I get that. I'm okay with it, and I think that's fun, actually. Like, you don't want to be a jerk to somebody, right? I don't hate the players or something. I'm just cheering against a logo. That's all.
The older I get, though, the softer I've become.
Yeah.
I was actually cheering on Iowa State women in the bracket, so I'm kind of I'm changing my ways. I'm getting older and wiser,
Well,
realizing that it's still more fun if everybody's excited. If everybody's sad because both teams lost, it's not as fun for all of us to be on the phone talking to each other.
right? And it's fun when both teams are good, right? And so I have the Iowa women's team. Obviously, maybe there's the Caitlin Clark effect there, but I can't say I've rooted against them, right? You watch them, it's enjoyable, and then I just don't root for them, right? I just don't actively root for them, but I'm not sitting there rooting against them either. I'm just like enjoying the game and being like, oh wow, like, oh, I can't believe that was great play, like those kinds of things. I'm not cheering anyone's demise on, so I don't know why it is specifically with the Iowa women's basketball team, but the football team, I'm cheering their demise on. I am. I'm sorry.
Get into sports gambling, Curvin, and your life will change.
This is why
All right.
haven't done it. I can't pull that trigger.
All right, man. So let's get into the final topic here, which is the trending topic. So with the increasing frequency of extreme weather events potentially linked to climate change, how is the insurance industry adapting its policies to better protect homeowners and businesses from these enhanced risks?
Boy, where to begin? So they're doing a lot of stuff. And, I mean, just to go through like the numbers, 2021, the P&C carriers experienced like $5 billion in losses in 2021, which is pretty rough, right? 2022 though, it was 26 billion. So talking about fivefold. And then last year in 2023 it was 38 billion. So that's a 10-year high. So, carriers are already doing stuff to adjust. They're trying to recover from these last few, and last year the frequency of category losses was insane. So, carriers are doing all sorts of actions. I've kind of categorized them as three areas. One's like drastic actions where carriers are just like, they're pulling out of a state completely. Iowa has seen a little of this. Here in Iowa, we're experiencing with a few carriers, not a ton, but states like Florida, California, they're really experiencing at a high level. Carriers are also they're eliminating certain lines, so they might not write motorcycles or RVs or specialty lines, or they might say, hey, we'll do auto in this area, but we won't do home anymore. And then they're also just doing freezes on new business, so they're saying we're going to pause in this state. We're not going to pull out of this state because that's some regulatory stuff, but we're going to pause. The next category is mitigating actions, and that's through increased premiums. So everyone's seeing that. In Iowa, we're experiencing 30% average increases on home premiums for 2023 and over 11% on auto, or they're limiting non-resident business for agents. So, I'm licensed in the surrounding states, but I don't have as many carriers available outside of Iowa as I do in Iowa because I live in Iowa. And so an insurance carrier is going to see me as almost a field underwriter. Like, I know the Des Moines Metro really well. I know what coverages to put in certain areas because of age of home or construction cost. And so it's understanding your market. Carriers like to work with local agents because of that. So that's why they'll limit business for me to write in Nebraska or Missouri, for instance. And then the other ones, which we're seeing a lot of, is non-rate actions. So that's things where they're impacting anything other than the premium. And so they might require larger down payments. We saw that with some carriers last year temporarily. They were requiring 40% of a premium, but they only put that requirement in for 6-7 months, and then they drew it back once they saw their books starting to shape up and the numbers that they wanted to see. Other examples, manual underwrites, we call them pre-bind pauses. And so that means they're just wanting more documentation. So instead of being able to bind an issue, an auto or a home policy that day, we might have to send in supporting documents for the customer for the property or proof of insurance, things like that. And then two other areas that they're doing with non-rate actions would be bundle requirements. Carriers might require both a home and auto bundle. So it's kind of tougher for a customer to qualify on both ends of that. But when it does, we want to place them. And then new business requirements that they might put in place. So carriers might require prior coverage limits that were in place prior. So if you have state minimums, maybe a certain carrier might not take you. Or they'll kind of have requirements regarding your claims history, or they'll require higher deductibles. And that's something really everybody should be getting prepared for, to see really a minimum of like $1,500 for your deductible on your home coverage. It helps to have $1,000 deductibles on auto coverage right now. A lot of people want to have that $500, but with the cost of repairs going up to $1,000 will save you money, and you have to do a little bit out of pocket. So just having households try and prepare for that. And then wind and hail claims in Iowa is a real concern, and we're seeing a lot of carriers go to 1% wind and hail, and so that 1% is of your dwelling. So if your house is $350,000 home, and that's what the rebuild cost is on your insurance, you're going to have a $3,500 deductible if you have a wind or hail claim. So that's how they're trying to approach it, and we'll continue to see that. I think the days of, $1,000 deductibles on home policies for wind or hail or just all perils, I think those are going to be days of the past here over these next few years, unfortunately.
Yeah, the climate change and everything that's happening is really definitely made an impact on the insurance world, but it's always fun to see how agents are attacking it and understanding how we can do better, how we can still make this affordable for people. Taxes are constantly going up. Insurance is always going up a little bit in the past, but it's never really been as exponential as it has here recently. But I totally can appreciate that. And I want to tell our listeners out there, if you've heard anything today, you think, what, maybe I just need to shop around my rate. Maybe I need to have somebody take a look at it. Curvin's your guy. Curvin will look over your stuff. He's wonderful about making sure you have the best coverage and the best premium. If you are getting a better deal elsewhere, he's going to tell you to go elsewhere. As much as I hate to take that away from him, he does a great job of being an advisor for people. So, Curvin, thank you for always taking care of my customers. Everybody I've sent your way has been phenomenal. I can say that I think you and I have gotten closer ever since you left, just because you've been able to take care of my people, and I know that I can trust you, and it's been an awesome relationship. So I appreciate you, man. You mind dropping your contact information for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kyle. And, I think playing fantasy football helps out too, right? A great way to get a hold of me, though, you can do that either through my email, which is curvin.larson@comparing, is direct line in our office. And then, you can also just Google my name. It is a unique name. It's my grandmother's surname is where Curvin comes from, if people are wondering. But yeah, Curvin Larson Insurance in Des Moines, and you'll be able to find my contacts and location.
Great. Thanks, man. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might love it also. You can catch the full episode with more on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. Your support helps us bring you great content. Stay curious, and see you next time with another exciting episode.